This is the first time that I've done this, so apologies for any amateur things that I do, because I've not done this before. How do I join? How do I join?
Easily, and more so being able to set up a live stream in advance. Let's take a look at this. Here we are over on my YouTube channel. Now, to go live, it's pretty simple. You just click on this little dude. I'm logged in. You click on this little video or a post, and you'll see go live here.
Okay.
The minute you...
There are people here. Let's have a look. Top chats. Let me see. What is going on there? Chat viewing options. Let's see if it... Right, apologies guys. It's the first time that I've done a YouTube live. And I can't see anyone's messages. Let me see if I can, bear with me. Can someone please write something in the message box? Live chat. How can I see people's chats? This is bizarre. Right. I'm trying to work. Oh, okay. Oh, I can see myself. That's spooky on another screen. Right. Hi, guys. I can see you now. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. I apologise for the amateurishness of this. It's basically, this is my first YouTube live, but I wanted to do it because I'm getting quite a few questions from people, and I just figured it'd be easier to get people on a live so they can ask questions that I can answer in real time. And this means that I can get through a lot more questions and answer them and help you guys in the time we have together right now than sort of doing videos sort of left, right and centre and answering questions in a sort of very non-efficient way. So yeah, thanks for joining me today. As I said, apologise for the amateurishness of this video so far. I'd like to do these actually in future, and if you guys would like me to do more of these, do let me know in the comments box, in the chat box rather, because as I said, I think that it can bring some value to people. You know, I've been wearing systems for like 5 years now, and I've gained a lot of experience in that time. So yeah, it can be a really great way to interact with you guys, and a lot of you have been following my journey for a long time. And some of you are quite new to it as well, but I'm sure many of you have questions about hair systems, about maintenance, about, you know, accessories like glues, tapes, you know, what might work best for you, bases, what might work best for you, washing it, how often you should wash it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, I hope you've all had a good weekend. I have been... Hi, by the way, guys. Hi, Liam and Jeffrey. I have been... I'm going to sound so incredibly posh. I have been at Polo today. And I'm not posh, but we have some friends who are members at this Polo club about half an hour from us. And that we've been invited like the last 2 years. I've never been to Polo before. I've no idea how... I still don't really have much of an idea how it works. But it's quite entertaining to watch. It's quite fast paced. So we're sitting out there and watching the polo today, and it was really nice actually. And I was back in London yesterday. Went to this concert which was just incredible. So yeah, it's been a busy weekend and I'm pretty tired. Before I crack on, there was a question that someone asked. Let me just check it now. There was a question that someone asked in the post that I did a couple of days ago saying that I was going to do a live. So I will answer that one first. And then if you guys have any questions, just whack them in the chat box and I will endeavour to answer them. Also, how was everyone's weekends? Let me know in the chat box. It'd be great to hear what you guys have been up to. Have you been out? Have you been in? Have you had sunshine? Have you had rain? Where are you from? Are you from the UK? Are you from America? Are you from Europe? Or are you from somewhere else in the world? I Hi there, thanks. No problem. Is it pronounced Rylith? Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. No problem. More than happy to do this. As I was mentioning earlier, it's just about sort of getting my sort of subscribers and other people who watch my content, and they can ask me questions in real time and I can answer them in real time. So any sort of pressing questions that you've got, I can answer on this live right now. Let me just find this question. Okay, so this is from a guy called Ryan. So, hi mate, what system do you get for durability and natural look? So, there is no one system that you can get which will give you incredible durability and an incredible natural look. I'm really sorry to break that to everyone. I always hoped that it was possible, but I've been there and I've done it and I've tried it, and there's nothing which can sort of tick both of those boxes perfectly. How much do you... Okay, so I'll answer that one in a bit. What I would say is if you're looking for the closest to decent durability and a fairly natural look, personally, I would say French lace. With a French lace, you can get, if you're careful with it, if you take good care, if you sleep with a silk pillow or a do-rag, if you use a leave-in conditioner, if you use argan oil on your hair, that's another good one. If you avoid getting your system in the sun too much, but if you also only wash it like once a week with shampoo, or actually once every 2 weeks is best, then you can get a good 4 or 5 months out of Swiss lace, out of a French lace. And with a French lace, you get a really good natural look as well. So that's the one I plump for. The system I'm wearing next, this is a poly. This is a 0.08 millimeter. You can actually see, because it's been so sunny in the UK, and it's been so hot the last 2 months. There have been times where I just haven't had my hat, and I've been caught in the sun, and it has lightened a little bit, and you can see that. I had to use Back to Natural last week, that was because my head started lightening. I put some Back to Natural on it, and it did sort of bring back the color a little bit, but you do have to use it again and again because it's a semi-permanent dye. It's not permanent, so you do have to use it multiple times, maybe I'd say using the Back to Natural probably once every 2 to 4 weeks. So how much do you generally pay per system? Good question. So for me personally, it's sort of between 200 to 300 pounds. Now in dollars, I think that equates probably to about 250 to maybe $375. That's the sort of ballpark you should be aiming for. I think if you're going much cheaper than that, then you're probably going to get a system which won't last very long. It might fall apart very quickly. If you're paying more than that, and I'm talking about stock systems here, I'm not talking about custom systems. I'll talk about custom systems in a moment. But with a stock, if you're paying more than $400 or sort of £350, you may well be getting a little bit ripped off. Personally, that's my experience. I've done that in the past, and I've paid more than that price because I assumed that if you pay more for something, even if it's extortionate, if you pay more for something, it must be better. And that's not always the way with hair systems. The most important thing is finding a trusted provider that you're going to get a good quality system with. So that's the most important thing. And if you're in that ballpark of the 250 to 350, yeah, that's the sort of money you should be paying. Okay. How to match hair colors as well. Okay, good question. I had so many questions about that. When I first started wearing, I was like, how are they going to know what hair color I am? I'm a bit of an awkward color. I suppose in hair system terms, I'm an ash 7. So that's like a 7 color, which is sort of light brown, but with a sort of slight ashy texture. That's the closest color to my actual hair. But the first time I got a system, I actually sent them a sample, and I always recommend this to anyone who's new to wearing a system. Make sure you send a sample of your natural hair from the side and you post it to whatever manufacturer or seller, supplier you are purchasing from, because they will be able to match it as closely as possible to your natural hair color. And as you learn what colors work for you over time, you won't need to send hair samples again. Usually they actually keep it. If you keep ordering from the same place, they will keep your hair, that sample of your hair, they'll keep it on file. Okay. But over time, you sort of work out what hair color, like what hair system color matches your natural hair. And I'll tell you what, guys, like I remember the second time I ordered a system, I was like, I can do this. I know what color I am. And I didn't send a sample. This is to another supplier in China. And I was like, I looked through the color chart and I was like, yeah, that looks like my hair color. I couldn't have been more wrong. It came out as like probably light blonde and it looked ridiculous. It was so different to my natural hair color that I had to literally just completely shave the sides. I tell you what, if you want to laugh, right, watch some of my earliest videos. I think that dates back to like 2019, and look out for the blonde bob, as it were, like the blonde bonnet. Like check that out and you'll see it just differs so much to like my natural hair color here. I had to completely shave the sides. I never made that mistake again. The thing is, with hair systems, you have to make mistakes to get it right. So please don't be hard on yourselves. I never encourage anyone to be hard on themselves, because this is hard enough as it is. But never be hard on yourself when you make a little mistake like this, because we've all done it. I've made multiple mistakes. I still make mistakes, and I've been wearing for over 5 years now. So please don't be hard on yourselves. Right, we've got some questions coming through. Okay. Hi Liam, question, are there any activities you've avoided doing since wearing a system, i.e. going on a roller coaster? I can't say I've been on a roller coaster since I've been wearing. Any activities that I've avoided? I'm not really scared of sweating. Sweating's fine for me because when you've got a decent bond, and by decent bond, I'm talking about Ghost Bond. I've got many years experience with Ghost Bond and it works well, at least for me. Walker's Great White is another good one. Another one I don't necessarily recommend that much because it is flammable, but it has a very good bond, is Ultra Hold. So that's the Walker brand. As long as you've got a good bond or a good tape, as I said, Walker is fine. True Tape is another one which is fine as a brand. When you've got that, you shouldn't really be worried about doing any activity. I would happily go on a roller coaster, by the way. The opportunity hasn't been presented to me. If someone said to me tomorrow, Adam, we're going to a theme park and we're going to be going on a roller coaster, I wouldn't have any problem with going on that. And by the way, just for a bit of context, this is Ghost Bond that I've got on at the moment, fully bonded Ghost Bond, and this has been on for just shy of 2 weeks. So I bonded 2 Wednesdays ago. Okay, so I've had this bond for about 12 days or 11 days, and it's still fine. The bond is still strong. I'd happily go on a roller coaster. I tell you what, one day I'll do like a short or something. I'll do a YouTube short whenever I go to a theme park, and I'll do a short of me on a roller coaster as proof that these things are very well fastened on your head. Is there anything I haven't done? I've been swimming with it, and that's been fine. That's another common concern for people, swimming. They're worried that if they go swimming, the system's going to come off, the bond is going to come loose. I can assure you it doesn't. So please don't worry about that. If you are, even despite that, if you are worried, what I would say, make sure you do a new bond. So you remove it, you clean it, and you bond it 48 hours before you're planning on swimming. I wouldn't do less than 28 hours because it does take the bond a little bit of time to cure on your scalp. People always recommend, and suppliers especially, and stylists always recommend, don't do anything whereby you're going to be sweating, going underwater, anything like that for 24 hours after you've done a rebond. Okay. Uncle Shale's neck vein. Great. I like that name. I don't know what it means, but I like it. Can you keep using minoxidil on the sides, or will it mess up the glue where the system starts if it gets on it a little? Good question. So basically, I still occasionally use minoxidil. For anyone who has been following me for a while, you'll know that I suffer from trichotillomania. It's a hair pulling condition. It's a chronic condition, and something which does actually help the hair grow back when it does get pulled quite a bit is minoxidil. So I do still use it on my sides, and it's never had any sort of negative impact upon the bond on the top of my head. So I wouldn't worry about that. I suppose the question I'd have for you, and if you could write the answer for this in the chat, is your minoxidil, where you're planning on putting it, is that going to be anywhere near where the hair system starts? Because if it is, it might be worth considering. So if it's going to be right near the scalp, I'm not saying don't have a hair system as a result of this, but I am saying if you're going to have minoxidil like right by the sides or towards the back where the system starts, make sure you use the minoxidil at least, I'd probably say 6 hours before you bond a system, because by then it would have dried, it would have been absorbed by your skin. So there shouldn't be any looseness between the bond and the dried minoxidil. How long is it till you start seeing the system thin out? Okay, so it tends to be different between a lace and a poly system. So as I said, this is a polyurethane system. I haven't had any shedding yet from this. This is about a month and a half old at the moment, so no shedding yet. I tend to find in my experience that it depends really how harsh you are with the system. Okay, so if you put sort of waxes in it, or clay or anything like that, the hair will come out faster. So if you avoid using those kind of products as much as possible, if you avoid hair drying the system as much as possible, the hair will actually stay bonded to the base for a longer period of time, and you'll have less shedding. But it does, again, it comes back as well to the quality of the system that you're buying. So as some of you know, like, I wear Vivid systems. I've been wearing them maybe almost a year now. I'm a big fan of theirs because their systems are good quality. There are other systems, there are other brands that I have used that have also been really good, but there are some other brands that I've used that haven't been so good, and I've seen shedding after a very short period of time. I've had a couple of Lord hair systems in the past, and one of them started shedding after like 3 weeks, and I was like, that's not cool. But I did have another Lord hair one, which is kind of okay. I think with them, it's kind of like their quality care, or quality, the quality checks that you do once a system is made. I don't know how stringent they are at Lord Hair. I don't even know if they check the quality of each system once it's been produced, personally. I might just email them and ask them, actually, because I'm genuinely curious. With Lord Hair, if any of you are on the Facebook group that's in my description box, you'll see that people have very, very different experiences of Lord Hair. Some people have good experiences, some people have bad experiences. Some people will have a good experience, and then the next system will be a bad experience. So there's a bit of a lack of consistency there. Systems as well that I used to wear, New Lace CU, I don't know if any of you have heard of them. I used to wear those quite a bit in the day, but sadly their quality has sort of fallen off quite a bit. From what I've been sort of reading on the Facebook group, which is a shame because they used to produce really good systems. So yeah, it comes back to how harsh you are with the hair as to how quickly it falls out, how much you hair dry it, and also the quality of the supplier that you're getting from. Okay. Another thing that I've noticed, which I need to mention here because this is important, I've only noticed this recently. If I use too much argan oil, I find it actually loosens the bond, it loosens with a lace, it loosens the knots between like where the hair goes into the lace, and same with polys as well. It loosens the bond, as it were, between the hair and the base. So if you are using argan oil, don't use too much. I only use it once every 2 days now. I used to use it twice a day, every day. And that's when I started noticing a bit more shedding. Now I do it every other day. You just get a pipette in a little bottle. You fill it up like a third of the way, and you just drop it around your head, and then you can get a paddle brush and just sort of comb it through. Thanks for the question. How many people do you know that wear a system? Well, Liam, I know quite a few because I've been within this community for a while, and some of the people within the hair system community I consider friends because I've got to know them quite well. And obviously, we all share so much in common. But, pretty much all of us have been through some sort of hair loss journey, either be that through male pattern baldness or alopecia, or in my situation, it was trichotillomania, and for the couple of years before I got a system, I was getting MPB, male pattern baldness, as well. So I was suffering from both of those. I think the trichotillomania may have accelerated the male pattern baldness because it was killing roots on my scalp because I was pulling it out so much they just weren't growing back. But off the top of my head, I probably know maybe about, like, personally know that I have fairly regular chats with at least 10 to 15 people within the hair system community. In my personal life, I don't know anyone. I have mentioned to a few people that I do wear a system in terms of friends. And one of them has lost quite a lot of hair, and he's thinking and he's considering getting a hair system, which would be awesome. So yeah, if he gets one, I promise I'll get him on. I'll get him on, we'll do a video, and I can sort of ask him questions about his experience. Uncle Shale is a retired UFC fighter with huge name. I need to Google this guy because I'm fascinated by him. Uncle Shale. I don't really watch much UFC. I've seen a few things. I've got a friend who's really into it, and we've watched a couple of fights together, and I kind of know about the Conor McGregors and all that kind of stuff, but I haven't heard of this guy. The first UFC fight I watched was it was that guy. Is he called Habibi? Is it Habibi? He has a really long name, and I think he's from, is he Ukrainian or Russian or something? And I think he beat Conor McGregor, and then he lost his mind, and he just climbed the top of the cage and started like going at Conor McGregor's like training team, and it was just nuts. That was like the first UFC fight I saw, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I like this, but quite often in the UK, I don't know where you're based, by the way, but quite often in the UK, the fights from the US, and they're on at like 4 a.m, so it's kind of like unsociable hours for the UK, and it's like, at the moment, it's 10:30 UK time. I think in America it's like 5 East Side, and maybe like, what would it be, 2 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. on the West Coast. So that's why I did it at 10, by the way, guys, because I've kind of got a 50-50 split between my subscribers. Like roughly 50% live in America and 50% live in the UK. So I tried to find a time that can work for sort of both continents, shall we say. So that is the reason. Has anyone got any other questions? If not, I can tell you about my hair system journey at the beginning, and the challenges that I faced. I'm sure a lot of you will resonate with this because you've been through these yourself, or maybe you haven't, you're not a system wearer yet, you're thinking about it, and you're just like, what challenges might I face? So I'll quickly go through that, and then I did one a couple of minutes ago. Oh, okay. Would you mind, Rylith, if that's how you pronounce your name, apologies if I got that wrong, would you mind just retyping the question that you asked? Oh, sorry, it's okay, I found it. Thoughts on daily install, for example, put it on in the morning, take off at the end of the day. I think folks use tape and some hairspray for front. Okay, yeah, I did that for a while, actually. So I feel, pretty qualified in answering that question. It's definitely viable. It can be a bit of a ball ache in terms of every night you're having to sort of take it off, and then usually you'd have to get up early. If you're going to work, for instance, you probably have to get up like an hour earlier or whatever, and you'd have to rebond the edge. Well, actually, no, you wouldn't have to, because you could just use the same tape. But what I did was I would just rebond it every day. And after a while, I was like, this is really exhausting and it's taking too much time out of my day. However, there are tapes and other accessories out there which you can utilize for this exact purpose. There also is the option of clips, which have their pros and cons. And by clips, I mean clips that you can attach to the side of the system and it clips to your bio hair. Okay, now that might be less abrasive on your scalp. So if you've got a sensitive scalp, I would say clips are the best shout. The problem is they can pull quite hard on your bio hair and actually end up pulling them out. That can be quite painful and it can cause more soreness on your scalp. But if you want to go the tape route, there is 1522, which is Walker brand, and that's a specific daily tape. But yeah, it would require a lot of cleaning, like regular cleaning, in terms of alcohol on your scalp, and that can irritate your scalp because you've got to keep it clean if you're putting tape on, new tape on or even old tape on every day. And taking it off as well, you'd probably get through more of the C22 as well. So it probably would be more expensive. It probably would take more time. But if that works for you, if you think that works best for you, then you go for it, my friend. You go for it, because we have to, on this journey, we have to work out what's best for us. And, I see so many times on YouTube, I've seen, tutorials saying you should do this and you should do that and you should do that in that order. And I've always been of the opinion that everyone is different. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own unique routine. Everyone has their own unique skin composition and skin chemistry. What works for one person will not work for another person. So you have to identify what's best for you. And if daily wear is good for you, go for it, stick with it. Or if it appeals to you, give it a go. Try it out for a month, see how you get on. What I will say, I'm getting a bedtime reminder. God, I'm so old. What I will say is, do what works for you. Have you tried wearing a system for like more than one day and sort of, keeping it on for like 2 weeks at a time or a week at a time and taking it off? Have you tried that? How did that work for you? Let me know in the chat. Talking of which, I wanted to talk to you guys about how often I rebond. And it'd be interesting to hear how often you guys clean and rebond. So what I found works for me around my life, and this is the key thing, it has to work around your life. Okay, it can't take too much time out of your life, because otherwise you're going to be missing out on things you might really enjoy. So initially, in the early days, I was cleaning and rebonding like every 4 days. It was way too often. But the second I got an itch, I was like, right, I've got to take it off. I've got to rebond. I've got to clean. Not a good idea. These systems do itch, okay? They itch every now and then. It happens. Hair's growing through, right? It's pushing against the base of your system. It's going to get itchy, okay? And you've got glue on there or tape on there, which, on a very, very mild level will just piss off your skin a little bit. And that'll cause a bit of an itch, okay? And there's like bits of bacteria and all of that kind of stuff. So you will get an itch. But at the first sign of an itch, you do not need to rebond your system, okay? So after a while, I was like, I'll do it. I'll try a week. I'll try every week and see how I get on. In my mind, I was still like, the second I get an itch, I'm going to take it off and clean it. It was only once I got past that, and it was a purely mental thing. And it's interesting. A lot of people are like, I need to take it off this often, and I need to do this and that. I think a lot of it in terms of how often you need to rebond, and the itchiness and the discomfort that you get. It's not genuine discomfort. It's literally brain conditioning. Our brain becomes conditioned to be like, I must take it off now because I've got an itch or whatever. But after a while, I started sitting with it and I was like, you know what? There's a bit of an itch. I'm not going to let myself get bothered by this. I know I can get like 10 more days out of this system without rebonding it. And slowly I've just built up. I don't do more than 2 weeks now, but pretty much now, it's around the 2 week mark that I take it off and I clean it and I rebond. And it takes a minimum amount of time out of my fortnight in that respect. It used to take so much longer, and now I can spend that time doing things that I can actually enjoy doing, like that I can immerse myself in, and things that bring me joy. We've got some more questions. Jeffrey, hi Jeffrey. Do you recommend an argan oil that is safe for hair system? I do. So if you check my videos in the description box below, if you scroll down, there's a little bit called products that I use, and within there, there's an argan oil, and it comes in a bottle, and it's got a little pipette, and I just literally put that on my hair every 2 days. Okay. It's a link for the UK Amazon. So if you're in the US, don't worry, I'm pretty sure they sell this product or one that's virtually identical in the US or in Europe. It's literally just a basic organic argan oil bottle that comes with a pipette. Okay, and it's in my description box if you're UK based. And I'm pretty sure if you go on that website, the Amazon one that I have the link for, if you're in America, it'll automatically redirect you to the American one anyway. Do I use scalp protector? I do. I've got sensitive skin on my scalp, and I find that scalp protector is really, really key to, number one, reducing scalp irritation, and number two, it really improves the bond adhesion. Before I was using scalp protector, I'd get about a week out of a system maximum before it was literally just coming off my head, and it required the least amount of sort of pulling to get it off my scalp. So the scalp protector it's been a game changer for me, really, and I recommend it to everyone. Even if you don't have a sensitive scalp, I recommend it because it improves adhesion. So I currently use the Walker brand. Let me Google its exact name. Again, I'm pretty sure that this is in the products I use bit in my description. I remember about a year ago, they had a shortage of scalp protector. And I was chatting to one of my friends within the community, and he was saying the only place he could find it was on Alibaba, and you had to buy like 20 bottles of it. And we were talking about going halves on it because we were just like, we can't find it anywhere else. We're just going to have to get it off Alibaba, and we'll buy like 10 each in bulk. But luckily they seem to be, I'm pretty sure Amazon are, it's just called Scalp Protector, Walker Tape Scalp Protector. There is also a Tree Tape brand, which I like as well. I sort of flip-flop between the Scalp Protector Walker Tape, the Walker brand, and the Tree Tape version. I think I slightly prefer the Walker Tape one because it improves adhesion better. But they're both pretty good. And they are available on Amazon and eBay, which is awesome. There's also one called Scalp Protector Thick. Has anyone used that? I've never used that one. The fact that it's called Scalp Protector Thick makes me think it'd be this really gloopy, sort of liquidy substance that could get a bit messy and may not be as efficient as their ordinary Scalp Protector brand. But those are available on Amazon. There's another one which I like. I've only tried it once, and it might be more suitable for anyone on this chat that sweats a lot. So if you go to the gym a lot, if you are a fan of saunas, I mean, I like a good sauna. I've got a sauna at home, actually. So you get sweating in that. This one is called Walker Tape Max Hold Sport. So yeah, Walker Tape Max Hold Sport. It's available on Amazon in the UK, and I'm pretty sure it'd be available on Amazon in the US as well. So that's another one I'd recommend. So Walker Tape Scalp Protector. They've also got one called Max Sport, same brand, and then the True Tape. The True Tape Scalp Protector is also good. Let me just check what it's called. True Tape Scalp Protector. It's called Skin Shield, okay? So that is another one. You can't get it on Amazon. If you're in the UK, you can get it in holistique.co.uk, which I prop them quite a bit, actually, in my videos because they always deliver within like 2 days. and you know you're getting the real deal. Honestly, guys, I've ordered stuff on Amazon before and I'm certain it hasn't been the legit brand. I'm pretty sure it's some fake ass brand, and they're just putting the label of like Ghost Bond, for instance, on it. Because I've had certain Ghost Bond that I've used, that's been cheaper than the recommended bestseller Amazon one. It's been like £5 cheaper, and the hold is appalling. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't Ghost Bond. So be careful. Always, if you're buying on Amazon, like glue, tape, whatever, try and go for the bestseller one, the Amazon bestseller, or the Amazon recommended one, because you know that you're going to be very likely getting the real deal. Has anyone said anything about your hair, i.e. it looks different because you wear a hair system? Hope this makes sense. Yeah, thanks for the question, Liam. I has anyone ever asked me? I don't think they have. Genuinely, I don't think they have. That's not to say that people might not have thought something. I mean, being from the UK, we're a very culturally in the UK, it's not the kind of question that people usually come out with. If people have a thought like that about something, they'll usually think it, but sort of keep it to themselves. I suppose we're quite a reserved culture. We don't really talk about things like that. We don't really talk about emotions either and stuff like that. It's a bit taboo, which is sad, because it's important for people to talk about their emotions and feel their emotions. It's really important, especially for us guys. We don't do it enough. And especially in the hair system community, because remember, guys, we've all been through a really, really rough time before getting to the point where we get a hair system, because losing our hair would have had a massive impact upon our own sense of self, upon our own self-confidence, upon our own self-esteem. And as a result, that would cause, I mean, speaking for myself, I suffered, and I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago, I suffered some severe anxiety and severe depression going through sort of my hair loss journey. And, I went through phases when I was a lot younger and I was at school, and, I get teased about my hair and stuff like that. And guys, this stuff sticks with you, this stuff really sticks with you. It affects you for a very long time. And in many ways, it can get so bad that it can get to sort of like PTSD levels if it becomes, that severe. So I think we certainly need to get better at sort of honoring the fact that we felt that way back then. And for me, this is a process. Like, I'm still going through that right now, going through stuff from my childhood, and learning to feel the emotions that I felt too scared to feel at the time, and just letting them pass through. And I've become so much more at peace with myself and who I am in the process. And it didn't mean that I didn't want a hair system anymore. I was at peace with myself, but I was still incredibly happy with myself that I've got a system, because it makes me feel like myself. It makes me feel like me. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. So yeah, but back to your question, because I went off a massive tangent there. I do that, and I apologise. That's just who I am. So no, yeah, as I said, in terms of looks different though, yes. So when I first got the system, I was living with one of my mates. We were in a flat share down on the south coast in England, and I remember I left the house, or the flat, and I had this thinning hair, and I came back with like a full head of hair, and he looked at me and he's like, "Have you got a haircut?" And I was like, it's mad to think that. And I was like, "Yeah, I got a haircut." And he bought it. Well, I don't know if he bought it. He may not have bought it, and he never asked about it since. He just said, "Have you got a haircut?" And I was like, yeah. Honestly though, I was on cloud nine that day. Funny enough, I'm releasing a video for you guys next Sunday. It's a TikTok video, and it's a hair transformation. So it's a guy who's completely bald, and he goes for a hair system. And honestly, guys, this video, I was like almost in tears watching his reaction when he first got the system. And guys who are in the chat and watching this video, watching the stream, any of you or girls who have had a hair system fitted for the first time, you will resonate with this video so much, because it's that moment where you just realize that you've got your hair back and you can be whoever you want to be. You feel, actually, you just feel like yourself again. And this confidence is just exhuming from you. It's radiating out of you. And this guy, and it's emotional as well. It's really emotional. It's a powerful moment. Honestly, getting my hair back was one of the most important days of my life. Seriously. Like easily like top 5. It had that much of an impact upon me. And after that, I was like, I need to do a YouTube channel. I need to share this information and stuff with people. And, you know, I just wanted to help more people get systems and stuff, because it's life-changing. It really is. What's it like going in? So Liam, what's it like going into saunas with a hair system? It's fine. It's fine. As I said earlier, tapes and glues are designed with the user in mind, and knowing that the user will probably perspire whilst wearing that particular glue or tape, because at the end of the day, we're human beings and we sweat. You know, the weather, as I said, has been pretty hot. It's summer in the UK. We're sweating a lot. These bonds are designed to cope with this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fine. The bond is still, I'd say maybe for like 30 seconds after the sauna, the bond may be marginally, so marginally weaker, but don't touch it. Just leave it for like a couple of minutes. The glue recures and it's fine again. Okay, so don't let that kind of thing stop you from having a sauna, because it honestly, the change is negligible. The change is negligible, and it's like last 30 seconds, and then it recures and you're fine. Just don't go into the sauna with a woman or a man if you're gay, and don't let them pull your hair when you're in a sauna. That's not a good idea. Not that would happen, but do you use any styling products, say for hair systems? From Jeffrey, yes, I do. I do use products. Again, it's in. If you check my, you know what? I'm going to get my channel open on my laptop, and so I can read to you the name of the product that I use, because I'm mindful that you guys are watching this stream. Remember, I'm still new to these YouTube lives, but you're watching the stream, so you won't be able to check this stuff right now. But you might want a pen and paper if you want to write this down. Let me just check the name of this product. It's fantastic. It's the only product I use in my hair, actually. It doesn't pull it out. It doesn't, well, eventually it pulls it out. If you've had a system like 5 months, I wore like an ultra thin skin, a 0.3 millimeter, 0.03 mil. For like 5 months I got out of it. I was so careful with it. And I put this product in it after 5 months, and hairs were coming out. But it's a 5-month-old ultra thin skin, so that's to be expected. Right, let me find this product. It's about £10, I think, on Amazon. But my stylist, Myra, who, by the way, if any of you are in the Southeast or London, I rate her so highly as a stylist. I've been going to her for years. She's super cool as well, and she's really funny. Like, she's very easy to sort of get on with and stuff. And she's been working in the industry for like 20 years. So you know that she's got good experience with hair systems. Let's check the description box. Let's check the description box. God, it's getting hot again. It's really muggy at night in the UK at the moment. We've got the fan on in the bedroom. I think my fiance's gone to bed, actually, so I won't be too loud. Right, products I use. Silky do-rag. I don't have this product in my products I use. Jeffrey, thank you. Because now I know I can add this in. I thought it was in there, but it's not. So thank you for bringing this up, because otherwise I wouldn't have known. You know what? I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I can't remember the name of it, but what I'll do, I'll write a note about this. And if I don't, just like write a comment on my next video if I don't do this. But basically, I will do a YouTube post, whereby I will put a picture of that particular product so you can see it from there. It's available on Amazon. Post styling product on YouTube. Post. God, this is so amateur, isn't it? So amateur. I'm so sorry, guys. Right, okay. Would you say lace is the most natural? And that's from Templar Knight. Yes, mate. Yes, definitely. There is, for a while, when I first started wearing systems back in 2018, was it? Yeah, I think it was 2018. It must have been, because it's 2023 actually. Yeah. So 2018, ultra thin skins back then looked really on point, like really on point in terms of sort of natural appearance. I remember Curtis, who runs the company Hair by MHE, he was wearing ultra thin skins at the time, and they looked really good. Like the hairline just looked really good. But interestingly, since COVID, those ultra thin skins, oh, they're still good systems, but the natural appearance isn't as good as a lace, basically, like a French lace or a Swiss lace. So yes, in my opinion, and I think this is a shared opinion across the board, I'd definitely say Swiss lace marginally is the most natural sort of appearance, sort of hairline appearance, followed by French. What you want to make sure when you purchase a system is that it says in the description of whatever system you're buying that it has bleached knots at the front. And now, for anyone who doesn't know what bleached knots are, it's basically when the bit where the hair, so the hair is sort of like it's tied around, or it's knotted around the lace base. And at that point where it's knotted around the lace base, they bleach that bit so it looks as if the actual hair is coming out of your natural scalp. Okay, so those are bleached knots, and they're always worth getting. I always say you don't need to get it throughout the system. It's unnecessary because no one's going to look at the back of your head. But if you get it I think a lot of suppliers, they do the first inch of a lace system. So from here to like here is bleached knots. Always look out for that. Always make sure you get bleached, because if you're exposing your hairline, you want it to look as realistic as possible. And I used to do that a lot back in the day. And I made a mistake with my first few systems. Excuse me. My first few systems, I didn't get bleached knots, and and I had my hair up a lot, and it just didn't look that great. So please, guys, get bleach knots or systems with bleach knots. Unfortunately, you can't get those with polyurethane systems. I don't know why. I've got my suspicions. I think that because they are effectively injected, the hairs are injected into the base of a poly. Obviously, you can't sort of get bleach into those little sort of holes that they inject it into. But in my opinion, I don't see why these suppliers, manufacturers, I don't see why they don't just dip the hair before it goes into the base, dip it in some bleach, leave it there for a bit, take it out, and then put it into the base. Surely that would solve the problem. But I don't know. I ain't a supplier. Maybe there's some genuine reason like that I just don't know about. But that's my suspicion. Natural looking for an exposed front hairline. Yeah, I answered your question there. Hi, this is Phil. Hi, which system base do you think lies the flattest on your head? I always use a skin base, but find the V-loop do stick out a bit. Yes, mate. Yes, Phil. I 100% agree with you. It is something that does calm down over time if you do the right things. So, because I had this experience as well, particularly with polys, not really with lace. I haven't found it really sticks out with lace unless you go super short, super short. And by short, I mean like an inch, for instance, in length. But with the polys, yes, they do stick out. They do calm down over time. There's a couple of things that you can do to sort that out. The one that I tend to use is just wear a baseball cap for the first. So say you get your system cut in, it's a little bit bouncy, okay? Wear a baseball cap for a couple of hours. When you get home from work or when you get home from the stylist, wear a baseball cap for a couple of hours, and wear a do-rag at night. Wear a do-rag and I wear one every night, and it gets me at least 2 months extra out of every system I wear. You can get them on Amazon. They're like £5.99, so maybe like, I don't know, $7.50, maybe $8. They're just called silky do-rags, and that will make sure that the system isn't bouncy anymore, or the hair isn't bouncing the system. It brings it all down. You might find that when you go for a shower and you come out of the shower, your hair's wet, you might find it goes bouncy again for the first few times. Best way around that, wear a baseball cap for like an hour again, or, wear a do-rag when you go to sleep, and it sorts it out. But I know what you mean, because I had that problem for a while, and it took me a while to work it out that like a baseball cap or a do-rag would work. But hands down, those are the two best things you could do. Also, you might find with the bouncier appearance that if you hair dry it, it becomes super bouncy as well. Now, I'm assuming that you're in the Northern Hemisphere, so wherever you are, it's summer. If you're not, let me know. But obviously in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer right now. And I did a short on this the other day that you don't actually need to use a hairdryer to dry your hair. You can just use a fan, like a stand-up fan. What are they called? Like wall fans? I don't know what they're called. But I just put my head in front of a fan, I turn it on, and it dries it, but without heating it. And that stops the bounciness as well. I don't see the argan oil either. Oh, okay. I'll make sure that I add that. Moment of truth. Hello, May. I really think companies need to stop calling systems undetectable. Agreed. Definitely agree. Anyone who uses skin bases will know how easily noticeable the edge of the poly is. Yeah, no, I agree. Going back a couple of years pre-COVID, it was actually pretty good. I don't know if you wore systems back then, but for me, the natural appearance back then was good. I don't know what's happened like the last couple of years. It's not quite as good as it used to be. From what I heard from a source that I've got in the industry, basically after COVID happened, you're getting some free intel on hair systems here. But basically when COVID happened, so North Korea is where pretty much all these systems were like made, because the labor is dirt cheap there. But pretty much North Korea closed down as a result of COVID, because they took this sort of zero COVID approach, which they're taking in China. I don't know if they're still taking that in China, but they were. And they closed their border to China, so nothing went in and nothing went out. So that meant that basically all of the hair system workers, very skilled people in North Korea, they just got laid off. And the Chinese had to basically learn from scratch how to do this thing, like how to make these systems. And in a way, they're kind of like learning on the job. And I think that's why the quality, when you compare it from 2018, for instance, to like 2020, 21, it got worse. But it's getting better again. And I've definitely noticed it's getting quite a bit better again. And I think maybe in like a few years we'll be back to where we were in 2018. Just my opinion, but I'm seeing encouraging signs. But I agree with you. I agree. I do think they need to stop using that particular word. I mean, to be honest, any system is detectable if you look hard enough, you know. But I wouldn't recommend someone with a poly. I wouldn't, like with you can see I've got a bit of a quiff today. But if you look carefully, right, you can tell that is not a natural hair system. So a natural hairline. So what I do, right, is I just sort of pull it forward a bit, so it kind of makes it less obvious. And as I said, like no one's noticed. And quite often I just have it down like this, because also the glue or the tape goes faster. It loosens faster if you have a quiff every day. Hiya Roger. So hi Bud, I'm considering a system, but I'm just so afraid of being detected. How often do you get called out on it? Never. I've literally, no one has ever said anything to me about my system. No one's sort of ever noticed or mentioned to anyone else, and it sort of got back to me. It's just never been noticed. But heck, maybe that's because I live in the UK and we don't. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose if we suspect something, we don't call it out. People just sort of keep it to themselves. That sort of very reserved sort of culture. Okay, how detectable is it? It depends on the base that you go for. Yeah, it really does. It just depends on the base that you go for. So if you go for a lace, it's pretty undetectable. Pretty undetectable, not perfect, but pretty undetectable. If you go for something like this is a 0.08 millimeter poly. Um, it's 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 all right. You know, as I said, no one's picked up on anything. Um, but yeah, if you look really closely to the hell. By the way, 0.08 millimeters. This one, it's not designed to be the most undetectable, but it's got decent durability. You know, I'm expecting to get like 4 months out of this. But yeah, it's not, as you can see, it's not perfect. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. That is literally hands down, by the way, guys. That's hands down the biggest concern that people have. Is it detectable? Are people going to notice? I can only speak from my experience and from the experience of some of my friends within the community. And it's really rare to come across someone who's basically been questioned about their system being like, that's a wig, isn't it? Or that can't be real. It's very rare. I can think of maybe two instances of people who've told me that someone has questioned their hair. So, and I've known people in this community for like 5 years, and I've spoken to quite a lot of people. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it unless you get like a sort of a 1960s full head wig. The technology is pretty good these days, is what I would say, compared to like 20, 30 years ago. What's the best tape brand for a lace system? So that's from Tevlook Orange. Walker Green is my favourite personally. I highly recommend that to anyone. It's hypoallergenic as well. What are your views on Stitch on Hair's YouTube channel? Stitch on Hair. I'm pretty sure I know who he is. He's the Australian guy, right? Yeah. If it's the guy I'm thinking of, I think it's Stick on Hair, not Stitch on Hair. Yeah, Stick on Hair. I'm pretty sure he's the Aussie guy. Let me just double check. Yeah, he's got a good channel. I like it. I've watched some of his videos. He was dyeing. He was like bleaching the knots of a system in one of his videos, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like this guy knows what he's doing. And yeah, he's been a system wearer because he's got like hair loss at the front. So he's really clever actually. So he buys a system and he cuts it into three, so it lasts 3 times as longer because he's only got frontal baldness. So Stick on Hair. Just want to make sure it's the same guy. Yes, it is him. Yeah, good channel. I rate it. Poly is still very detectable. Companies need to stop using this undetectable nonsense. Yeah, I've already read that one. I personally, oh God, message retracted. Okay. What are you using? Okay. Poly is still very detectable. Yeah. Companies use, yeah. Yeah, under certain lighting, it can like reflect off the light. I noticed Levivid, I wore one of their systems. They've got this one called Louis See-Through, and it's actually got a really dull finish, so it doesn't reflect off anything, and it's pretty good. If you use that with no shine tape, it works pretty well. Templar, I'd say black women because they use wigs all the time, only notice hair systems. At my work, one black lady noticed, okay, fair enough, and asked me directly straight away if I was wearing a lace wig. If she asked you if she's wearing if you're wearing a lace wig, I would imagine that either she's very experienced with wigs or she wears one herself, because that's quite a specific thing to say. Do you wear a lace wig? So she clearly has knowledge of it. But yeah, you make a good point. And that, yeah, it's quite popular within the sort of black female community, isn't it? I've noticed a lot of videos, when I do my sort of searches on YouTube, and when I'm looking at other people's tutorials, quite often, or bleaching knots tutorials, it's quite often sort of black women who are doing their sort of wigs and weaves and stuff. They look really good. They're very good at sort of bleaching knots. These guys are really, really top notch. Called it. I didn't know how. Temple and I called it. Okay, so this is a continuation of that. Panicked and left the canteen room as it was full of my colleagues. Yeah, that must have been quite tricky to deal with. Then later we spoke and I told her that I was using a hair system. So yeah, they do detect. Yeah, wasn't very professional of her to do it in front of everyone. Um, yeah, I would encourage her to employ more subtlety because that's not very appropriate, especially in a workplace when colleagues are around. Um, Moment of truth. I personally love an adhesive that would take the form of a roller stick rather than a brush on liquid. It's a good idea. Yeah, definitely. It'd be way more easy. You just literally just take the top off, whoosh, easy, put it on. Get if you want to speed up the curing process, whack a hairdryer on, or do my personal favorite, which is just use the fan next to the bed. It dries it just as quickly. Anyone know, is there such a thing? I Yeah, feel free to jump in there with moment of truth's comment, because I haven't seen it. But if anyone else has, I'd love to know, because I might try it myself and then I can do a video about it and like a little review. So Dan, no one ever comes close to detecting it apart from people like partners. Yeah. 100%. So I think I've got a video coming out next Wednesday. Yeah, where basically um I talk about like my girlfriend and like how I told her and whether she detected it or not. And I'm sure like when we were intimate, because I had a fairly like a medium thick poly at the time, and you can feel it. You can genuinely feel it. Like if you're putting your hands through someone's hair, you can feel it. Like something ain't right there. You can feel it sort of like there's just a little kink around the side. And I'm like, she knows something's going on here. Like she knows there's something there that ain't normal. And it was at that point that I felt that, the trust was there. We'd built that trust. And I was like, look, I need to tell you something. I've got a hair system. What's a hair system? Um, Stick on hair, yeah. Have you ever gotten a tear that made you throw out? Oh, was in throw it in the bin. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we all have, Jeffrey. It's pretty common. There are ways that you can sort of deal with it though. There is a brand, it's Walker's. Let me find it for you. Walker One Base, I think base tape, I think it's called. Let me just double check. Walker base tape. Yes, it's called Walker base tape, and it's a one-sided tape, and you stick it where the hole is, and it just basically stops the tear from getting bigger. So you can use that. I usually get a tear as the system gets older. You put more and more pressure on it because you put tapes on it or you put glues on it. It gets stretched. It gets molded and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, you will get like holes and stuff. It's just normal. You just don't want to be getting one too early in your system's lifespan. Um, I just be careful with it. That's the best advice I can give. Just treat it like a newborn, basically. That's the best way to deal with these kind of things. And if you've got an ultra thin skin, don't use tape. Just use glue, because glue is unlikely to tear the system. Tape with an ultra thin skin will probably tear the system at some point. I had SMP done for 5 to 6 years, and I've started to get called out on it. As it's got very popular and my hairline is defined. Oh, okay. Thinking about transplant, but I have extensive hair loss. Yeah, this is the thing. At the end of the day, Roger, it's your choice. Like it's your scalp and it's your hair, and hair transplants aren't for everyone. Hair systems aren't for everyone. SMP is not for everyone. It sounds like you've gone down the SMP route, but it sounds very, like a defined hairline. I suppose as you get older, that can get quite obvious. It was a consideration for me, like back in the day, but then I was kind of like, well, what about when I get older? I'd want to have a bit of a recessed hairline to match my age. And with SMP, obviously, if you go for a flat sort of hairline with it, if you're like 45, it can be a little bit obvious. If you don't have enough donor hair as well, hair transplant can be difficult. What I can say is with the hair systems, I've seen guys who have SMP and then it doesn't really work for them. And then they go to a hair system and, it seems to work quite well. And I've seen a couple of people differentiate between the two. So they're like, they want to wear a system for a while, wear a system for like 4 months, and they're like, I fancy going for the shave look again. Take the system off, they've got the SMP already there. It's something I considered for a while actually, but then I was like, it's too expensive. And I've got a wedding to pay for, so that's pretty much where all my money's going right now. Seems a system might be my best option. No harm in trying, mate. No harm in trying. You could give it a go for like 3 months and see how you get on. Yeah. Do you know what happened to Jason from HS Talk? Jason from HS Talk? I don't even recognise that name. Jason from HS Talk. Is this like a YouTube channel? Jason HS Talk. Oh, okay. I've literally never seen his channel. Yeah. I'll subscribe though. Yeah, whenever I come across like a new channel, I always subscribe to their channel because I like just following, you know, following and sort of supporting other people in the community, because there's not many people who make YouTube videos about this. And it'd be great if there were like more people who could do it, because then it could raise awareness and, you know, more people could get systems and take that dive. And yeah, because it is a bit scary when you first start out. So I can understand people's hesitation. Yeah, it wasn't professional of her to say, yeah, exactly, to say in front of everyone. Maybe that's why she got sacked. Maybe, yeah. I mean, she doesn't sound, it's not exactly the cornerstone of professionalism, is it? Yeah, she wore one herself. Yeah, it makes sense. With the whole lace thing, like the lace wig, you know, people who don't like, you know, wear systems or wigs or whatever, they won't know what the heck a lace is. Yeah. Have you ever had a serious reaction on your scalp? From Jeffrey. I did in the early days. So when I was working out like what adhesives were working for me and like what adhesive removers were working for me, I made a couple of mistakes, and I had quite a bad reaction to ultra hold tape, and it was super red, and I had to get some steroid cream and put steroid cream on it for like a day or 2 days, I think, and let it calm down. But I do that anyway, so about once a month, I will remove the system and I will literally just go like a whole day without wearing a system. I know that's a bit harder for people who work in an office, like 5 days a week, obviously. It's not as easy, but you could still do it on like a Saturday night and then, you know, rebond on a Sunday night. That could be an option for you. But I think it's healthy to let the scalp breathe, whether you have sensitive scalp or not. Yeah, give it at least one night a month to breathe. But I wouldn't ever say serious reaction. It was like redness, needed some steroid cream, and that was it. Have you ever had a serious reaction? Let me know in the chat box, and I might be able to help you. Any tips on dyeing your system as it oxidizes back to the original color? I would permanently use I would personally, sorry, not permanent. I would personally use semi-permanent dye. So Back to Natural is a good one. It's a really good brand that I use personally. And it's not cheap though. It's like £30. So about $35 American maybe. But it lasts a long time. Mine's lasted like 4 or 5 months. So yeah, I would say give that a go first, because if you mess it up, at least with the Bats Natural semi-permanent, if you do mess it up a little bit, it's going to go back to where it was before in like 3-4 weeks. Whereas when you dye it, it's a bit more permanent. So go semi-permanent if you were to ask me. At which stage of balding would you recommend a hair system? I would say, by the way, guys, I'm going to have to wrap this up in 5 minutes because it's like 10 past 11 at night in the UK. But I'd like to thank you all for coming on. And I would definitely do this again because there's a lot of questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer all of them, I'm afraid. I do apologize about that. But I'm definitely going to do another one of this because there's clearly a lot of questions coming in. A lot of people need help on this kind of stuff, and I'm happy to do so. So at which stage of balding would you recommend a hair system? If you're sort of like, if you start quite heavily sort of thinning from the front, I would say yes, that's when you can consider at least getting a frontal hair system. And then as the recession continues, I'd say getting a full one. Let me just find the exact Norwood. If you're familiar with the Norwood scale, that is like a scale of sort of balding recession. and I'll tell you which one I was before I got my system. I need to remind myself of the exact number. I would say I was... Why are they using Roman numerals on these images? I don't want Roman numerals. Okay, so I was like a 4, I'd say. I was a 4 on the Norwood scale when I got a system. So I would say a 3 upwards. If you've got a 3 on the Norwood scale upwards, or even, yeah, a 3 upwards, I'd say, yeah, definitely get a system, mate. I bought some Walker tape recently off Alibaba. I think it was fake. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it held better than any glue of. Okay. Hey, mate, if it works for you, keep doing it. Basically, that's what I'd say. Although cleanup is tricky, yeah, it's a balancing act. It really is a balancing act. It's like, does the quality of the hold outweigh the annoyance of the cleanup, or vice versa? It's a balancing act. So just ask yourself that, basically, and make a decision based off that. Have you ever had a skin system dyed? No, but well, actually, no, I have. I dyed one like a couple of months ago, and I did a video on it. So if you check my playlist called tutorials, Hessian tutorials, there's one where I actually bleached the front of a system, so you might want to check that out. This may be because the knots have been dyed too. It happened to me. Have you ever had your skin system dyed and the front hairline became very obvious? Yeah, in that one it actually wasn't too bad. But yeah, what I would say is don't use too much dye, basically. My advice is do not get hair transplant. Yeah, so this is Pokeman. Unless you have minor hair loss. Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. If you've got too much hair loss, there's not enough donor hair to put on the top of your head, or to transplant to the top of your head, whereby it actually looks like like it's not going to be thick enough. There's not going to be enough density there, and you're going to end up you're just going to end up annoyed with the final result. And you're probably going to be perplexed that you forked out £10,000 to get what would appear to be a pretty shoddy job in terms of the hair transplant. The hair would be too thin and wispy, and that might fall out as well. Like, look at Wayne Rooney. If anyone's familiar with Wayne Rooney, hair transplant is just, it's not it. Not for him anyway. He keeps getting transplants, hair keeps falling out, it just doesn't hold. This is the last question I'm going to answer, guys, from Dan, and then I'm going to have to call it a night. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope I answered all of your questions, and I will do this again. So if you do have a question that you want me answering, I will do this again in future. So make sure you save that question somewhere, and make sure you ask it on the next Q&A that I do, the next live. So Dan said, I started boarding at 24, but only started using system at 41. Wish I'd done it earlier, as people think I'm in my 20s. Yeah, 100%. So I got mine when I was 27, 28. And I wish I'd have done it when I was like 22. Genuinely, it would have saved me so much hassle. It takes so many years off. And yeah, when I do that video, or I've got the video coming out next Sunday, definitely watch that, because like, it's literally the whole 10 years younger thing. It's the epitome of it. When I watched it, I was like, this is the epitome of hair system makes you like at least 10 years younger. So it's this guy, he's 29, right? And you look at him, he's like a bus driver and he's bald. You look at him and you're like, no way is that guy 29. He looks about 45. But when he gets the system, you're like, yeah, he looks 29. Look, guys, I've got to go to bed. I've got stuff on tomorrow, and my other half is trying to sleep as well, and she's like right next door to me, right here, and I don't want to keep her up. We've got quite thin walls. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will definitely do this again. It's been really enjoyable answering your questions, and I hope you found some value in this live Q&A. I will do it again, and I'll speak to you very soon, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.